Hello, my love.
So, darling, how are you?
I'm very well, my darling. How are you?
I am good. How's your week been so far?
Yeah, pretty great. I have it's only Monday, so I haven't achieved a huge amount yet, but had a lovely relaxing weekend, and then the plans for this week are coming together quite nicely. So we're podcast batching today, which is always one of my favorites. We do some of our more exciting stuff later on in the week.
Yeah. To date us, obviously, it is Halloween, isn't it, soon? So you got any plans?
It's Halloween tomorrow, and no,
Yeah.
because I am not into it anymore, mate. I love the idea of it, and I love seeing all the little kids dressed up, and but I can't be bothered anymore. It's not my
Yeah.
thing. We will probably batten down the hatches, turn all the lights off so that nobody expects to steal any of our sweets, and then we will just put a scary movie on or something.
Yes, that
What
sounds
about
lovely.
you? Any Halloween
Uh, I'm
plans?
I'm actually gonna run away to my mum's because my street, because we have quite a lot of kids,
Yeah.
it goes quite big, and like a lot of the houses are, which is great because I think last year kind of went around with some kids and the dogs and stuff like that. It was really good fun. But this year I want a bit more chilled, so I just want to like hide away from all the noise, and it just sets the dogs off like 100 times. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
hide at my mum's where she doesn't get any trick-or-treaters. So I'm gonna do that for the night just to hide away.
That's a good idea. I absolutely love that idea. I love an
Yeah.
excuse to just like get out of the house for a night as well, randomly. Always fun.
That's the plan.
So,
Awesome.
this episode of the Paddy Pod, we are going to be, because we are careening into 2024. It's coming thick and fast, my babe. So
Oh my God, yeah.
something that happens with every new year is that like we start to assess the trends, like the design styles, the design trends, the
Mhm.
website trends, all of that stuff. So you and I have been doing some research on the upcoming web design trends for 2024. And
Yeah.
this podcast is going to be we're giving listeners our takes on these up and coming trends.
Lovely. I'm so excited.
Very
But
excited.
before we do get into it, it is pop quiz time. Maybe we might need a jingle. We'll have to record a little jingle for pop quiz
Okay.
time.
You have to sing it.
Uh, oh, good Jesus. That no one should suffer my singing. Okay, so are you ready?
I am. Let's do it.
So, question number one. So, what is your business bugbears of the week? What's been getting under your skin?
Oh God. Okay. This is kind of a double-edged one in a way, really, because it's a sign of success, I think, that things are going well, but there's just so much admin. There is so much
Yeah.
admin, like so many emails to answer, and then like you realize
Mm.
that you haven't planned your Instagram for the week and you haven't done this, and like just the kind of the constant strategy and planning is excellent. That's my favorite bits to do. I love it. The day-to-day admin is just like not my favorite thing in the world, but it just means that we are doing well, we're moving in the right direction, and one day we'll be able to afford a VA who can help me with all
Oh,
that stuff, because it does not complement my brain work like that.
yeah. The busy work. Yeah.
Totally.
Awesome. And can you give me an inspiring or motivating lesson that you've taken from last week?
Yeah, so we did a really lovely workshop last week that I really enjoyed, to a group that was much bigger than I think either of us had anticipated it being.
Yeah.
And we didn't know beforehand quite how big that group was going to be. And then we got there and we did it, and it was great, and we really enjoyed it. Everybody that was there really enjoyed it. We've had some really lovely feedback. And so I think that my inspiring lesson of last week is that you don't need to know every single detail. Sometimes you can just say yes, you can just show up, you can just do your best and have fun with what you've got. Because maybe I think if we'd have known earlier on that the group was going to be as large as it ended up being, we probably no, we probably would have done it, but we would have really been nervous about it in a way that we weren't when we didn't have that information. So sometimes, ignorance is bliss, and you should just kind of just crack on.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. And what is the best meal that you've had last week?
Oh, you're gonna hate me for this one, and I feel bad because Louise is our resident vegan, but my partner's dad's birthday was last week, and so we just had the most outrageous dinner plate size steaks from a local butcher's
Oh,
that were just unbelievable.
peppercorn sauce?
Obviously. What am I, an
Obviously.
animal?
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal. Would eat that every single day of my life, to be honest. But yeah, sorry vegan ears, and sorry any vegetarian listeners, but it was
How
really
dare you? Yeah, it's definitely some kind of mix, don't I?
I can imagine.
And finally, what's something personal that you're working on right now? Not too personal,
Ooh,
mind you.
building my self-esteem. No,
Oh God,
I
every day.
need less of that, if anything, to be honest. God, what is something personal I'm working on right now? Do you know, I have been dipping a little toe into a little bit of like air dry clay pottery because I got a kit a few weeks
Oh,
ago.
oh.
But I won't lie to you, every single project that I've attempted, I've completely messed it up. So I tried to make, and you know, it is what it is. We'll get there with all these things. So I tried to make a soap dish to match because I got a new bathroom like 6 months ago, and you know, I've just got soap sitting on like a cardboard box that it came in, which is not great. So I tried to make a soap dish, but I obviously made it far too thin. I'm too squimpy with the clay.
Oh, you can't be. Yeah.
No, so then I made a plant pot for our friend, but that when it dried, it was too small because I'd been like so precise with the measurement and tried to really scrounge how much clay I used. And then I made the soap dish that I made much too thin. And then when it dried, I tried to paint it and literally touched the top of this paint dish with a paintbrush, and that
And it
amount of
snapped.
pressure snapped it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's no way it would have handled the soap.
Well, quite, yeah. Or, you know, the inevitable dropping on tile, which I absolutely would have done. So
Yeah,
I'll keep
yeah.
trying. I'm sure there's a way forward. I just need to stop being such a tightwad with the clay.
Yeah, yeah. Fun though. I love when
Yeah.
you do so many little creative projects. I keep meaning to do them and they just sit there in my little hobby room going, yes, one day. Because I
Yeah,
love a
I'm a
trip to
bit like that
Hobbycraft.
though as well. Oh my God, there's nothing better.
Oh,
I'm a bit like
oh,
that though.
so
I
good.
pick stuff up and put it down, and it's fun. Because you
Yeah.
can't put too much pressure on yourself around that sort of stuff where you just stop completely enjoying it. So
Yes. Yeah, true. Yeah.
you
I
are
just
a
feel
bit
like
of
I
a
need to be
workhorse with yourself, though.
Oh,
You
I
don't
just
let
feel like
yourself enjoy
everything
anything.
needs to be productive. I like sit there like, how can I really like make efficient my time?
How can
Yeah.
I
So
optimize this?
oh goodness. I tire myself out, to be honest. I can hear myself with it. I'm like, oh, do you know what I should do? I should also listen to
Is that the most productive use of your time?
while I'm doing it though, I can listen to a productivity audiobook at the same
Oh
time.
God
Delightful.
almighty. Just
Oh, I
let
hate
yourself live,
myself.
woman.
No, no. Right. Web design trends.
Web design trends for 2024. This was interesting actually to look into because, and we'll sort of speak about this more as we go through. Isn't it fascinating how far back in time we're going?
What do you mean?
Everything, and like it's happening with the clothes fashion, it's happening with like the things that are in style, it's happening now with web design. It's all of the like early 2000s,
Oh,
2010 aesthetic stuff is like coming back.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I think I saw it was horrific. It was good old on the TikTok.
Love it.
It was like someone just showing that it was like in a Halloween store, and the costume were those like kind of stripy skater skirts, the fishnet tights, like the boots. I was like, why is it a Halloween costume basically what I wore as a teenager? Like
Why is
nothing
what I
makes
wore
me.
to school every day when I was 14 now suddenly a mockery?
That's exactly it. Admittedly, when I saw it again, I was like, I get it. It is a mockery, like what we were wearing, like the little
Honestly.
what was it? MySpace kind of photos with a fringe going across, looking up. You
I
were
was like,
definitely. I
I
remember
was
you were
MySpace
pretty into it.
famous, babe. I was MySpace
Yeah.
famous. I had like 20,000 friends on MySpace.
Oh,
Because
and
I
now you
had like,
swapped that for Insta.
I know. But MySpace was really uninvolved though. You didn't do anything. You just took
Yeah,
photos that kind of, but I was like an early
a
adopter of
doctor.
Photoshop. So all of my photos, so I had like the big fringe, and all of my photos were like black and white, but I left my eyes or my lips in colour.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Did you ever do like? Did you ever
Do you
like
not
edit the
laugh at me?
website?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
course
yeah,
you
did a little
did.
bit of the HTML. So I had like falling
Oh.
stars that used to come down in time to the music. Oh my God.
Oh, I love
Genuinely,
it.
I don't know that I would have been a web designer had I not had MySpace. So, swings and roundabouts.
Oh, yeah, all comes round. Bless. But yeah, I think there's definitely it's a crazy how it's kind of come back in. So in web design, how have you
Mm.
seen that trend kind of come back in then?
So something, and I just want to
Y2K.
make, yeah, I just want to make like a little note at the beginning of this pod that if you're listening to this and not watching it on YouTube, we are going to try and be as descriptive as possible because we appreciate that this is going to be quite difficult to talk about with words only, but hopefully we'll be super descriptive. You'll know what I mean. So some of the Y2K, like old school graphics that I've seen, there's a lot of glitter text. Do we remember glitter
Yes.
text?
Oh,
Like
yes.
these big decorative like bubble fonts that are just shiny glitter all over, and they're usually animated, so usually use
Yeah.
like GIFs or SVGs or something to do that, so they kind of shimmer, and that is just so Geospot.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
cannot believe that it's making a comeback, but I have
I
seen
can. I love
so
it.
much of it. Oh yeah. And
I
listen,
love
don't
it.
get me wrong. So a big part of like the Y2K web design, so we've got this like big bubbly glittery text.
Yeah.
There's shiny textures. It's basically
Yeah.
this move away. They call it skeuomorphism, which is a move
Mm.
away from flat design. So it's more
Yeah.
like real world design. It's kind of not quite 3D, but things have shadow, they have texture,
Yes.
they
Yeah.
feel a bit more tangible. And
I
I
think that's
love it.
because we came from where everything was flat. Everything became very vector, very simple, which was
Yeah.
very clean and nice. I am sure everyone remembers on their phone or the app icons suddenly became very flat because the
Yeah.
Instagram icon, for example, used to be that kind of, it looked like a camera. And obviously
Yeah.
now that we move away more from cameras and not many people kind of use it in real life anymore, everything got very flat and it's just like a circle and a square, a bit more kind
Mm,
of color. So I think it's that moving away from it, isn't it?
yeah.
And that's always what design does, doesn't it? It kind of bounces back and forth of like, oh, I now need to push it this way and push it back this way again.
So what do you
So
think of it? What's your preferred style? Are you more of a kind of a flat icon, super modern kind of girl, or do you prefer the skeuomorphic, more 3D look?
it totally depends actually on the use case, which I know is a bit of a boring answer, but for me, if you're a big corporate company, I actually want you to be that simple, minimalistic vector kind of, because I don't think you have that much personality. You cannot have like thousands and thousands of employees all kind of representing one personality. So I just feel like
Yeah.
sometimes it's clearer, it's cleaner that way. But for small personal brands and for me personally working on websites, I love it. I love like the glitter, the shiny, it for me it makes it more fun. But again, if I'm looking for someone to do my driveway, I'm probably not going to go for the person who has like a glittery text, so
Yeah.
it is that kind of balance. But if I'm looking for a web designer or a copywriter or kind of services like a female based service, it kind of lends it really well. Or even like kind of a face care or something like that, it would nice for it to be a bit more fun and less kind of, I feel like with maybe face care and spas and those things, there's quite a design trend with them that I'm a
Mm.
little bit bored of, to be honest,
Yeah,
for that kind
that's
of
what I was
market.
gonna say. I think, do you remember, going off piste a little bit, but do you remember the original iPhones and kind of the way that the home screen looked? And you had those icons along the bottom of the screen that were like borderline 3D. They were kind of shadowed
Yes.
so that they looked like big domed buttons. I love all that stuff. And I
Yeah.
totally agree with you that it gives you so much more room for maneuver when things aren't just 2D flat one color, to really get creative and show off your very unique brand personality. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm all for it. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. But I think apps that I use daily, I would be very upset if they suddenly made everything have a box shadow and like shadows and borders and made everything 3D,
Yeah.
because it'd be busier, So I think
Yeah.
it's one of
There's a
those.
reason that flat design was so popular, and that is the advent of screens.
That's it.
Smaller screens in particular really do apply themselves much better to a simpler, flatter design aesthetic. But I do think that a large majority of brands have taken it too far. I would like to see a
Yeah.
little bit of stuff,
Yeah.
a little
And
bit
it's
of
just
design
got
back.
it's hard with design, especially like in regards to websites, because there are best practices, you know, like have your logo top left, have like the menu top right, but it does mean that everything gets a bit samey, you know, everything kind of does it. So I think, you know, but then there's also like websites, we've all gone on them. Well, I think you and me have gone on them at least for like design inspiration, or they win awards. And I'm like, I don't even know how to get around this website. So
Yeah,
there's definitely like a level of usability.
There's a happy medium for sure, where it's kind of, you still want to make it simple and usable for your visitors and your customers, but having more option to put personality in and to sort of create something a bit more standout and unique is always welcome.
Definitely. Okay. I agree. So what's another design trend?
So something that I've seen a lot of, and you know, this is something that is kind of always popular, but I think people are starting to play more with the way that it works now, is a kind of 50-50 split screen effect. So what I mean by that is, most of us, I'm sure, will have seen websites where this is the case, where like the whole left-hand side of your screen is taken up by a jumbo image, and then the right-hand side has some text or like one big header or something like that. And then you scroll down and maybe it's another 50-50 section, or maybe, you know, you get the gist. But people are starting to get really creative now with things like scroll effects. So when you scroll down on the site, maybe the whole page doesn't move. Maybe it's just that text that's on the right-hand side actually transforms and becomes new words with scroll. Things like that. So people are getting really creative, and I would love, as our resident SEO and technical queen, to hear what you think about those kinds of effects.
Yes, yeah. I mean, yeah, personally, I love them. I think they look great. I think it definitely adds a lot more intrigue to the website. And it does depend, because they can be performance and SEO friendly, but they have to be coded up well. You know, so because especially with those scrolling things, so you'll notice often as well, when you start to scroll, it could have a snap. And that's like a scroll kind of snap in the code where it goes, okay, like go and pop up the next bit of content. But the issue with that then is like, what if it's then on an iPad? What if it's on a mobile phone where you're just using touch? Sometimes they don't quite work. Also, as much as most people do use a mouse, sometimes people use a keyboard instead, or they might have other kind of accessibility issues and they use other inputs. You need to make sure that your website is still kind of working for those, you know, and even like the MacBooks trackpads, they work slightly differently as well, and not always scrolling on them is not always nice. So I think they do look great. They definitely need a bit more work, a bit more testing to make sure that you're kind of like accessibility to everyone. And again, also obviously checking that the code is clean, because that can affect your SEO. If it's taken ages to load, it probably really isn't worth it, because you know, I mean, it depends on what the outcome is. If you're not worried about SEO as a, you know, as a website, which there are cases that might be the case, you know, it's probably great. But otherwise, you know, you need to make sure that this is still fast loading. But I love it as a design.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same. I think design-wise, it's really sleek, it's really modern. I think people are doing some really fun things with them. But there is, as always, the real need to prioritize usability and user experience and accessibility, as you said, over this just looks really cool. You know, like looking cool is great, but it really should be secondary on your website. If people can't use your cool looking site, or people can't access it, or you know, it's not loading for people, it's a complete waste of time. So evaluate your goals and do try and prioritize usability. I'm sure there are plenty of tools that you can use to achieve that effect, that, like you say, will do all of those things, but it's just being aware of that, and don't just like build something that looks great and then maybe doesn't function very well.
But it takes like two minutes to load, because the thing is, people are jumping off. Like I've had it a few times where there's like a little kind of loading icon. I'm like, oh no, I'm out. I'm just not that interested. I'm like, no, I've got the attention span of a gnat, so no, thank you.
This is it. Yeah, I think people are very capable of creating these things in a very user-friendly way, but I think the biggest consideration to make is, for the majority of our listeners who aren't web designers or developers and are actually small business owners, the ability to create something like that involved without coding expertise is slim. So keep
Yes.
your effects simple. A 50-50 effect is fantastic and is actually a really great thing to create because it works really well on mobile and smaller screens because you just stack stuff. But if you want to start getting jazzy with a lot of those JavaScript animations and things like that, you're going to have a really difficult time if you're not going to hire a pro developer. So maybe just
That
keep
is
it
it.
simple.
And having a developer for proper testing, even if you're, buying a plugin or copying code off, online, there's a lot to think about whether it works with your systems, works on all devices, it's definitely a big trade-off, and I would always kind of recommend seeking help where you can.
I agree. Or keeping it simple enough that you can manage it and not
That's
worry
it,
too
yeah.
much about the
I
snazzy.
think just lean into the design. Amazing what you can do with just some nice fonts and colors and like some big images. They can look absolutely incredible.
I agree. Completely agree. Right, babe, hit us with another one. What's another big 2024 web design trend?
So another one, which is super fun, probably one of my favorite, is dynamic or animated typography. So that's like scrolling text, or the typing text is a good one, or kind of like entering or leaving on scroll, a bit like what you said last time. So and you can even have, that kind of parallax scroll, so things come in at different times as well, especially with text. It's it just makes it super fun, and it feels a bit more interactive. But again, it is just kind of like that scrolling. But it just helps make everything a bit more interesting rather than that block of text that you always see.
Yeah, a bit more engaging. And the thing with text effects as well is that they are pretty easy to achieve and pretty
Yeah.
easy to create without damaging the usability of your website.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, they're performance-wise generally fairly low cost-ish. Do you know what I mean? Because you're going to have the text anyway. SEO, that should always be read because it should just be, text. So it should be able to be read by kind of search engines. And then you're kind of just playing around with positions and timing and animation with it. Yeah. I think it's really fun.
I love it. I remember when I was at uni, God, so many websites had that like typing text effect.
Yes.
It's so this is another really nice nostalgic piece of web design sort of coming back. And I love to see it. I think it's really fun.
However, now that you've said that, I do remember. So this is what the new design doesn't have, as in make it a header in short. Okay, no one wants your whole paragraph to be coming in kind of letter by letter. I don't want to be, I mean, this is the same with all animation, to be honest, is that however long you think the animation should take, half it.
Oh
It
my God, I
always
could
needs
not
to be
agree more.
quicker. Yeah, because it's when you're looking at it and creating it, you're like, oh, maybe this should be 3 seconds. Absolutely not. Like
3 seconds is such a long time, isn't it? And you just don't realize until you're doing something like that.
Even like fade in, there's nothing, because I'm a bit of a manic clicker, manic scroller. Nothing worse than me scrolling down and there's nothing for that few seconds because I've scrolled too fast and it's slowly fading everything in. Nice idea, but I'm just kind of waiting there like, come on, I know, I just went back and I wanted to look back at this content, it's that kind of flickering. But yeah, so that's definitely, make it short and make the animations very small if you are going to kind of play with that design.
Yeah, don't apply them to every single piece of typography on your website. Stick to nice chunky small bits that sort of get the effects, that impact of that animation across without, like you say, holding people up. I will say you are a particularly it's quite stressful being near a computer with you. You're quite a taskmaster. I've never seen someone like do a sort of eggy triple tap of the space bar, like click click click, within like literally like 0.4 seconds. You're like, come on.
I am
like road rage of the computer sort of area.
I have like just no patience. However, it is great because I will find bugs that way because I am manically clicking everything and so fast. So if there is going to be an issue, I will probably find it first. So
I do respect that actually as an approach. I really enjoy that.
But yeah, no patience. So
road rage of the mouse world.
exactly that.
So another trend that we're seeing a lot now is, so storytelling in web design has been around for a very, very long time, and we've started to see that moving into some of the imagery and things that we use, the way that we kind of present those user journeys. So one of the big trends for 2024 is looking like bringing a lot of interactivity into that storytelling. So what I mean by that is a lot of those kind of scroll effects, where as you scroll down the page, some images will maybe fade in, or like, you know, up on the page, so you see them as you scroll, not everything loads all at once, so that you're really drawn into that movement through the journey and through that story of the website. We've talked a little bit about some of the pitfalls of these things already, but yeah, what are your thoughts? What do you think about this sort of adding this extra interactivity?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. So to kind of give a little bit of background before I started the studio with yourself, a lot of my background was actually working in data visualization. So, and a huge part of that actually is storytelling. So in data visualization land, we've been using kind of like the scrolling and bringing things in one at a time for the storytelling for quite a while. The reason is because it's just so much information. So I think this is great when done well, as always, like with these things, but it's fantastic when you have something complex or a lot of information. That idea of drip feeding it to the user again, so they're not loading the page and going, oh my god, there's a massive wall of text, how am I going to input this? But instead, here is an image or a graphic or design or something, and then a short snippet, and then that is small enough that I'll go, okay, I will read that, and then I'll scroll. And again, it's great for, yeah, as I said, like huge amounts of information or complex information, or probably a great one as well for like maybe services, like if you had we've called it before the Goldilocks effects. If you had like a small, medium, large package, if you were to highlight it, as in show your small one, or say want something extra, and then you had an animation in to show the extra bit of the services, it would be a great way to inform the user that this is like the small package plus this, and then plus this again. So that kind of drip feeding of information with the storytelling, it's very effective. But again, it does take a lot more thought technically and design wise to be done well, because it can be quite easy to miss the mark on it.
I agree. I think another really great way I've seen this kind of interactive storytelling being used is, this is more maybe appropriate for larger brands, but I think I've seen that IKEA are doing something similar, where they kind of give you like a history of their business as a timeline, as an animated timeline. So you can kind of get the first stage, and then you scroll a little bit, and then some images and icons will come up, and it will tell you about sort of 5 years later when they open their second store and such and such. And I just think that's such a really lovely, engaging way to bring people into your world, to bring people into the story that you're trying to tell, and to keep people engaged with it. Because like you say, no one wants to land on a web page and read a book's worth of content. It's not fun for anyone. But yeah, again, it's just about being mindful about the way those animations are created. Are you using the animation systems inbuilt within things like Squarespace or Wix? Because if so, you're going to have a lot less control over that, which may be fine. Or are you going to hire someone in to really do it for you, so that you can get that code really tight, so it's not impacting your SEO, it's not breaking when people look at it on a screen that isn't a desktop? All of those things that we always have to consider with usability and accessibility.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I'll have to check out the IKEA one, because that's again, it's that same idea of like, you probably wouldn't have read a page if it was like, here is the history of IKEA. There's no way you would have read it. Do you know what I mean? Like, no one's that interested. Yeah. But that like little drip feeding of it, kind of, that interactiveness as well. You could do the same with like, if with your services you had lots of information, or there was like this is like the roadmap that we usually do with our clients, that kind of thing is a fantastic example of it. So I think that kind of storytelling with it is key to using it effectively, not just being like, oh, I'm just gonna have a product one by one. Because if it was like products, that would be annoying as a user. I don't want to see them drip fed to me. I actually just want to see the whole thing.
Yes. Yeah. No, I love that. And you're so right. It is about always always knowing what your goals are as a business, and like what you're trying to achieve, and what your customers' goals are, and making decisions that align with them, not just doing things. This is a caveat that I want to give to all of the things that we've talked about before we move towards what to do in these situations. Don't just follow trends because they're there. All right.
Yes.
That is not the way to produce like a standout brand, a standout website. You will just be updating your content of your website every 6 months to follow these arbitrary rules that have nothing really to do with your business. You know, if you see something that really speaks to you that you would like to incorporate, ask yourself why. Ask yourself, will it benefit your business? Will it benefit your customer? If the answers to those things are yes, then crack on. But you can't do that for every single trend that crops up, because they are never ending. And remember that they go out of fashion as quickly as they come in. So,
Yes, totally.
you know, really be sure that you're making the right decisions for your business, not just choosing design options that look the coolest, because
Yeah,
it's a fool's game. You'll never win. So,
totally.
Lou, where can we look for inspiration to find sort of really nice web design trends as a business owner?
Yeah, so Pinterest is obviously a great one. It's
Yeah, I
probably
love
where I spend
Pinterest.
way too much, especially before bed. Oh my goodness, what an absolute hole that is. Lovely it.
Yeah,
Dribble is a good one. Awards, which is spelt with 3 W's, I believe, isn't it?
get it? www.
Awards. Yeah, so
Get
you've
it?
got to say it like that. Yeah, I can't. Can you think of any more?
So a really good one that is specifically for web design is Site Inspire. I like using Site Inspire. So that's a lot of,
Oh, I
yeah,
haven't heard of that one.
yeah. So awards is for websites that win design awards, which is really
Yeah,
useful because that's a really good show of
obviously.
trends.
Yeah.
And then Site Inspire is more of a sort of general bringing together different inspirational
Mhm.
sites together. So all good places to look, particularly if you want visual inspiration, or if you are choosing to work with a designer and you want to pull together some examples of the kinds of visuals that you're looking for. They're a really good way of
Mhm.
doing that.
And
So
as a
no, go
business
on.
owner, or as a very unskilled designer like myself, who's just a mere developer,
Oh,
so where like kind of what would you suggest then if like you struggle with these in-depth design styles?
I mean, don't, if you're a small business owner who doesn't have the budget to have a website designed and built for you, that is absolutely fine, but be realistic about the
Mm,
types of looks that you can recreate. um you know, the likelihood you'd be able to create like a 50-50 split screen like we talked about, that would be
yeah.
pretty easy for you to do. Maybe a lot of the kind of in-depth animations might be a bit above your pay grade, and actually, is it a good use of your time learning how to do that? So think about the things that you can DIY. If you do want to do things yourself, that's fine. If you don't want to do things yourself and you do want something with a lot more design input, you could hire someone to do that for you. You can buy website templates that come with some of these features included. So
Mm,
one of our templates, for example, does have the 50-50 image placed in it. We've got a lot of stuff like that. There's a lot of animated text in the ones we sell. I'm sure there are similar in other brands as well. So that's another great way to do it. And of course, you can, if you have an existing website and there's a design trend that you're looking to replicate, you can probably find a plugin or a code snippet or
mhm.
something similar that you can include that will help you achieve that specific effect. So that is what I would do.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. I know that there is generally forums and kind of Facebook groups and stuff to help out. And they can direct you. I think they're great for maybe directing you to like plugins that you need. However, just again, be wary if someone's just pasting in code. Be so wary about just copying and putting that into your website. You know, there's a reason
Not
why.
everyone has good intentions, babe.
Yeah, or and not everyone knows your website or knows
Yeah.
code as much as, you know, a lot of people are maybe a little bit too confident sometimes, you know, so they're
Yeah.
not sure of all the other kind of aspects of it. So just be wary of that. But you know, there's
Don't
always the
break your
undo button.
website for a trend, you know?
That's it. Yeah. Just kind of think things through if it is, you know, valuable.
Totally agree. Oh well, I think it's been really nice actually. It's been a while since we work quite specifically where we don't follow trends too closely, because I do
Yeah.
think, you can fall too deep into that hole and they change as quickly as, they come as quickly as they go and blah blah blah.
Totally. Yeah.
So it's actually been quite nice to dig into what's fashionable again in the world of web design rather than what is our sort of style.
Hmm.
So this has been a really interesting episode. Thanks for doing it with me.
Thank you so much. Yeah, a little bit of a blast from the past with the Y2K stuff. I love it.
Oh my God, I know. It's like being a baby designer again, isn't it?
Yeah, thank God we're not.
Oh, I know. Lessons learned. Well,
Yeah.
thanks everybody for listening. We hope this has been helpful, and we can't wait to see all of the amazing web design goodness you create in 2024.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.
Bye.